We are live. Through pain. Direct reports.
Or something on Crowdcast. And as soon as I hit the live button, they all got notified that we were live. And so then a few of them come on. And,
They get the notice.
and
Michelle from Normandy. Hey, Michelle. In France now.
I should, and we can chat. The chat works really well.
Yeah, I'll say hello here.
Yeah.
I said, hello from Maine.
We'll be looking at it for you too.
Yep. And
Toronto.
All right. Michigan. Normandy, France. So we're international.
Mm-hmm.
2 Torontos. Birmingham.
UK, really international. Ontario. Triple international. So we're really cooking along here. And yeah, we'll be live. Well, 3 minutes. In 3 minutes, we'll go ahead and fire it up. Usually in the next 3 minutes.
And there's
2 or 3 more people.
Oh, a new Halifax person from Nicole
Vincent. I've seen that name. I don't know why I've seen that name. Oh, Vincent. Maybe she'll tell me.
She might reveal that.
I've been to Halifax. I haven't done a training in Halifax.
You came close.
I came close. COVID got in the way.
COVID took care of that.
Yeah, literally, COVID got in the way. I spent the money on the airline tickets and never got the money back.
Oh yeah, there goes Nicole. Almost, Nicole, almost.
You know what? Strangely enough, I got the bus ticket money back a couple of weeks ago. That was.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, that was nice.
Okay.
I mean, so, but it's pandemic time, so. It's still 103. Time is standing still.
It's Monday moves slowly.
Once it's Monday, yeah.
Mondays move slowly.
No. Most of my live events, lectures, conferences, they've all been canceled. And
oh no, Phil and I don't even try. Not literally Nova Scotia. Halifax was my last one to have scheduled. And,
I had one in March that got canceled, and then nothing new since then.
No, nothing new. Nothing going on. It'll be next year or so before those.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Those happen again.
Yes.
It will. It will. This is a great platform to use even when you can do conferences. This is a nice way to connect with people.
And it's a nice way. I mean, a lot of people do Zoom things.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
For our purposes, what we're doing, Crowdcast has distinct advantages. Which we will be training on Wednesday.
Yeah, speaking of which, Wednesday we're going to be talking about that very topic, Devin.
Yeah.
How you can do this.
Well, how do you do this? And then we'll tell people everything. And then if people want to join our mastermind, so where we discuss how to do it.
Right.
Brainstorm titles and stuff.
Yep. That green button is about down there at the bottom if you're new, if you're interested.
Yep.
I see that.
It says continue your matrix training in a mastermind group.
Right.
Which any of the mastermind groups are going to continue your matrix training. Vermont has signed on.
Yes, Stadion.
And it's 105, so I'm going
If
to.
you're ready to roll.
Well, we're going to turn the broadcast over to Evan, and you can tell us what you're here for.
Yeah, we're going to be talking today about a flexible path through pain. And I'm very interested in it, in part because, like other people, I get pain. And but the focus of the work that I do is helping people who do have chronic pain learn to get back to the life they love. So what we can do to get started is an exercise that I sometimes walk people through that has to do with one part of the matrix. And this one part of the matrix is the circle right in the middle. And Phil has it already noticing. So this concept of paying attention is central to the whole principle of the matrix, so that we can just be aware of what's happening. And it sounds so basic that I think most people, when they hear it, assume that they're already doing it. Like, oh yeah, I'm listening, I'm paying attention, I know what's going on. And just to kind of challenge you as a group, I'd like to give you an exercise that I sometimes give people when I'm introducing the concept of paying attention. And it goes like this. I'm going to say a very short sentence. It's about 6 words. And I'd like you to hear this sentence and kind of say it to yourself in your mind. And then just kind of watch what happens as soon as I say this. And here's how the sentence goes. Everything in my life is perfect. So let that thought run through your head for just a minute. Everything in my life is perfect. So as soon as that shows up, what kind of activity in your mind starts percolating? What do you notice?
And people can chat in now, right, Evan?
Yeah.
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 So folks, chat in.
All the imperfections. Instantly my mind says, no, it's not. There you go. Wanting to debate with you. I notice my mind relaxing. There you go. What else do you notice? There is some resistance.
Eddie says resistance. All right.
Yeah. Welcome, Eddie.
Yeah.
I feel butterflies in my tummy.
As well as the relaxing feeling. Okay.
Yeah. So this thought, everything in my mind is perfect, is to me, if you picture being out on the porch at night, you're sitting there maybe having a relaxing conversation, and you got this little light bulb up above you, and that light bulb is like an attraction to every kind of flying bug around, right? Moths and mosquitoes and other flying things, beetles, and you put a thought like that, everything in my mind is perfect out there, all of a sudden you begin to hear what the mind does. And so what does the mind do? The mind does some very, very typical things. It will label stuff. It might label that thought as, oh, that's a lie, right? That's kind of a label. It might make some comparisons. Oh, my life used to be perfect. My life's not as perfect as somebody else's life. My cousin, my friend, this workmate of mine. I'll tell you an interesting little thing that happened. My son came home from a camping trip this last week. He came home Saturday night and had been there a couple days with his buddies, and one of his buddies just inherited $1 million, 16-year-old. Grandpa died. So what does the mind do when somebody just inherited $1 million? You start making comparisons. Oh, look at my life. Look at my life. Look what's wrong with me. It's amazing what the mind does with things.
My life just got worse.
Right. All of a sudden, you went from the state of I'm pretty happy to, oh yeah, I'm stuck. Your mind will do cause and effect, right? The reason that my spouse didn't call me back when I left a message is because fill in the blank. The reason I texted somebody and they didn't text me back is because that's cause and effect. Your mind comes up with these, true, what it thinks, reasons why things happen or don't happen. It makes judgments. It makes predictions. It tells you a little bit about why it is that your life isn't perfect. I think that's one of the things that shows up the most in the people that I'm talking with. The reason that they don't have pain is because something that they're not doing well enough, something that they didn't do, something that they tried and failed at. If they were a better person, things like this wouldn't be happening. So I'll tell you just a common occurrence that happens when pain shows up maybe after an accident or an injury. Let's say that somebody was at a stop sign in their car and they weren't moving a single inch and they get hit from behind, pushed out into the intersection, hit from the side. And so they're pretty banged up. Maybe 2 years later, they're at the pain center at Mary Free Bed Rehabilitation Hospital in Grand Rapids, where I work. And I'll ask them to tell me a little bit of the story of what happened that led to them to have chronic pain. And so they'll tell me the story, interesting story of getting hit while at a stop sign. So what does their mind do? Their mind does something like this. It says, well, I usually leave work on time. But that day I left a little bit early, and if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't have been there right at that moment. I stopped at the grocery store on my way. And, if I hadn't done that, or I was adjusting the radio, I was, changing the station, and I usually am looking out, and if I hadn't done that, I usually don't even go down that road. I go down another road. And, if I hadn't tried to make that shortcut. So what's their mind doing? Their mind is doing all of this judging and making cause and effect, making connections. So our mind is amazing in good ways at making these kind of connections, but these connections inherently are dangerous because it can make any kind of connection. So, Phil and Kevin, when I'm talking about noticing, I really want people to start getting a sense of what there is to look for. It's not just, I heard this thought in my head. But what kind of a thought is that? Little trivia, we have about 70,000 thoughts that run through our head every day. And about 90% of them are repetitive and pretty much useless. And we have to learn how to get out of that stream of muck and stand back and notice a little bit what's going on. So as I went through that little description of some of the things that the mind does, it creates stories, creates rules, makes all kinds of predictions, asks kinds of questions that we can ask. I think I've heard from the two of you many times that the brain is pretty good at asking what if. Something shows up and the brain says, what if this happens now? And so I'd like to just kind of hear from the group, if you're listening to your mind and you're noticing this thought, this experience of this sentence, everything in my life is perfect. How would you label some of the different type of thoughts that have just shown up related to that? And you can put that into the chat. You're making comparisons, cause and effects, predictions, judgments, your brain telling stories, judgment.
There's judgment. Yep.
What kind of a judgment? What's a typical kind of a judgment that shows up? Negative weight.
Mm-hmm.
Contradictions. planning ahead what I need to do to yeah. That's it.
Yep.
Yeah. So the mind is
Well, there's another one there.
yeah. Think of mind predictions when I moved South Africa in a few months, time, future tense, rather than yeah.
Traveling to the future.
Yeah. Staying hard to be connected to the present moment, isn't it? Very hard. Yeah.
Yep.
So this is the struggle that happens when a person has pain. It's not just that I want a person to be aware of pain that they need to be aware of. But what I'm interested in is when pain shows up. And when all the friends of pain show up with pain, all right, so the friends of pain are our thoughts, our emotions, our fears, our questions that we don't have answers to. When all those show up with pain, what does the mind begin to do? And then to ask ourselves, well, is what my mind doing right now, is that actually helpful to me? Or is that something that is just leaving me in a wrestling match? So what happens when you get into a wrestling match with some of these thoughts? What have you experienced? And feel free to add your comments, or Kevin or Phil, like when you start getting in a wrestling match, what happens for you guys? Yeah, frustration of not achieving. Yeah.
Yeah, well, the loop gets a little tighter.
Yeah.
And those friends that you talked about, more of them come to call.
Yeah.
They start.
Okay. More friends start showing up.
Yeah.
They have a bus, don't they?
Well, yes. An ever expanding bus.
Yeah. Yeah, they do. Imposter syndrome. Yeah.
Yeah.
I appreciate that, Kate. I think as a person, I'm aware of my ability to wear a mask. To make sure that people have a good perspective on how I'm presenting myself, and I don't let people in, to the struggle that's going on inside. Intense physical reaction, power, when the negative is heard, feels stronger than truth. I want to believe, yeah. And it really is a very strong, it impacts us at every level, emotionally, physically, definitely. So let's take a minute and start going through the matrix grid. So this noticing is something that I ask people to practice on little things that show up. I think there are some predictable times in our day that we can listen to this mind and practice just noticing it, labeling. I'll give you one example. You start the day, maybe you don't do this every day, but maybe once a week, you step onto a bathroom scale in the morning, right? It's just an event, right? So the moment that you step onto that bathroom scale in the morning, what do you hear? And feel free to throw that in there, into the chat. What do you hear? You step onto the bathroom scale.
There you go.
Yeah. Label. That's a label. And a judgment. More than just a label. That's a judgment. What else?
Maybe take my shoe. Yeah, that's right. Yes. Tear off your clothes, right? Shed some pounds there.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's going to be awful. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Hold on. There you go. Man. That's a good wrestling move.
That's great.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So The next time that you get onto a scale, step onto it with your awareness engaged. Realize that your mind is going to start its normal stuff. It's going to label, it's going to compare, it's going to judge, it's going to tell you a story, it's going to make a prediction, and it's going to evaluate you in some kind of way. And that's kind of the nature of our mind. So we're going to look in a few minutes at like, what are we supposed to even do with that? You might think that it's depressing to be aware of that, but it's actually, in the end, freeing. In part because you start to stand back a little bit from it and realize that all that stream that's going through your mind doesn't necessarily represent who you are as a person. And that's a neat place to be able to get to. And it's a challenge to get to and to stay. So one of the first things that I do as I talk with people about chronic pain is to begin with the things that are important to them. There are different ways to talk about that. Values is probably the most common way. You know, what's important to you, who's important to you. And that's the approach that I take. And I just ask people this kind of a question. You know, you're in a pain program, you're wanting to recover from your difficulty with chronic pain for some kind of a reason. What is that reason? What do you want to get back to? Who's important to you? What do you want to be doing with your time, your energy, your life? And some people are ready with an answer, and some people have been struggling with chronic pain for such a long time that they have almost forgotten that there was something out there, you know, that they want to be moving toward. And I think it's really important to spend some quality time clarifying what that picture is, getting an idea of, you know, what direction does a person really want to be going beyond feeling better or having less pain. I always say, if someone says, hey, I want to have less pain, and I've asked them, and to do what? Well, what would you do? Who would you do it with? Why would that be so important to you? So this is something that brings up an important point in talking about pain. So when you and I are talking about pain right now, we are already putting pain in this category of physical, right? But when we talk about values and we talk about what's missing in a person's life, we're really beginning to talk about another kind of pain. And in ACT, what we call that is the pain of absence. So when somebody has a picture in their mind of who they really want to be in their life, but they look at where they are at right now, there's a gap. There's a gap between this is where I need to be, this is where I'm at. And that really creates some discomfort in a person's life. This is what I want and this is what I have. And that tension is to be expected. It's not a sign that something's wrong. It's a sign that something's important, and that connection with what's important isn't what it needs to be. We really need to get reconnected and moving forward in some way that is going to help us get to, not necessarily arrive, but to move in that direction toward those things that are important to us. So what I want to remind people is when we begin to experience some tension in our life related to our values, that tension, I think, is a good reminder that there are some important things, important people and values, kind of character that we want to have, that we want to move toward. It means that we're alive and that life is worth living and we want to live it. So when you experience a disconnection between the person that you are and the person that you want to be, the things that you have and the things that you would like to have, the kind of direction you want to be going, but the kind of direction that you have right now. When you experience that, what kind of emotion gets stirred up inside of you? What? Feel free to put that into the chat. What do you experience when you experience that gap? What word do you use to describe that for yourself? Frustrated, longing, empty, yeah. Emotional pain, feeling defeated, yes. Insecure, fake, loneliness, yeah. Yeah, all of these things. We experience a lot of distress that just comes from this this distance that's there. Anger, sure. So look at that list: longing, empty, emotional pain, defeated, insecure, fake, loneliness, inadequate, anger. So let's say that you have this collection of reactions and emotions, and you are going to send them off somewhere for a little bit of processing. And now, Phil, this is where I could use your help with the grid here.
I actually just jotted them down for you.
Oh, thank you.
How's that so far?
Perfect. Yeah. Yeah, so the lower right-hand quadrant there is, what's important to us, who's important to us.
And I also added your statement about what is your reason for being here.
Yeah, right. And then this disconnect, this gap, and all the things that are related to that are going to show up somewhere below the line there for processing. And it gets sent over to the lower left-hand quadrant. Now, here's the problem with that lower left-hand quadrant.
Yep.
Yeah, it shows up over there.
Yep.
And I refer to that area of our experience as an area of our life that is run by a committee of monkeys. And if you've seen, what is it, Night at the Museum?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And all the monkeys that are running around.
They're running the show, right.
They're running the show. When that is happening.
I'm going to see if I can make Phil's screen. I'm going to make
it. Is it fuzzy, Kevin?
I'm going to make it the focus.
Sure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Let's see if that does.
There we go. How's that?
That
looks pretty good at my end.
It's still blurry.
Yeah, that's okay.
Can people see it?
It did not used to do that.
No.
Okay.
I'll get a little closer. Does that help?
Nope.
Okay.
Yeah. So
very blurry still.
Very blurry still, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
Yeah, we're going to have to switch to using an online whiteboard.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, so when that gap and all the things that are experienced with that gap start getting processed by the monkey mind, that's when you begin to hear the brain start saying, oh, boy, you got this loneliness. Oh, you got this anger. I see that you have this distance between who you are and who you want to be. Well, you know what that means. That means this.
Mm-hmm.
So let's focus then on pain. Somebody has pain that's showing up in their life. What do you think some of the things are that the brain is going to say, the mind's going to say when pain starts showing up. And pain is obviously related to what's getting in the way, right? It's one of the things that is contributing to this person not really being able to move like they'd want to freely, without struggle toward the things that are important. So when pain starts showing up, what from your own experience have you noticed? It might have been a headache, it might be migraines, it might be back issues, it might be, or even the pain of loss, or the pain of absence, as we were just talking about. How does your brain start churning away with that stuff? Migraine, feeling down.
Mm-hmm.
So when that migraine stirs up, you're tired, not active. Mm-hmm. Tired as well. Helpless, hopeless. Takes lots of pain medication. Bored. Cancel stuff. Okay. Yeah. Can you fill me in on like some of the things that you might hear your brain saying? Does it create rules, for example? What you need to do is, what you can't do is. Do you hear some of those things? I need to keep skill. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That's probably the most classic one. The brain comes up with the rule that we need to reduce sensory input. It sends you off to a dark room to make quiet and to stay in bed.
Yeah, no words, just feelings inside.
Feelings.
Shut down. Mm-hmm.
Shut down. Yes. Does anybody hear like a story that your brain begins to create around the theme of pain? Some. Mm-hmm. Oh, not this again.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Here we go again. Mm-hmm.
Right. Sometimes I ask people, this is already so long in my life, it's going to get worse.
And right. Prediction, right.
Mm-hmm. There you go. No, it never stops. Right. Do X to feel better. Right. Start the wrestling match with this. Tell myself I've been here before. I need to ride it out. Right. Yep. So I think when our brain really starts to wrestle with this stuff, it begins to picture our life going forward as if pain is in the driver's seat and we're just a passenger. And one of the things that I really want to see happen for people is to be able to have the perspective that pain might be in the car, but pain's not in the driver's seat. Might be a passenger, might be in the back seat, might be in the trunk. It might eventually get kicked out of the car, but it's definitely not in the driver's seat. But the way the mind will construct this picture of pain is that it's in charge. And then that begins to really become the focus. And so, Phil, one of the things that I often do with the ACT matrix is I'll cover up half of it at that point. So the right side, I cover up.
Like that.
And, yep. And what a person now begins to really notice primarily is just all this stuff on the left side. And we'll get to the upper left-hand quadrant here in a second. But when a person feels like this is their life, that's all they notice. And the things that were important and that are important to them, the people who are important, I mean, all of those things begin to feel remote. and distant and very, very far away from their day-to-day experience in reality. And that is something that, as I cover that up, many people have said, oh, that's where I'm at. And it's not a happy, oh, that's where I'm at. It's a resigned, like, oh yeah, that's all I seem to see right now is this struggle side. And so to kind of complete the picture on that left side is the upper right-hand quadrant. And that has to do with, I think, the easiest way for me to remember it is what Russ Harris has said about distraction, opting out, talking, thinking, and substances and self-harm, DOTS. So Phil, if you wanted to write DOTS there in the upper
right,
left.
Upper left?
Yeah.
DOTS.
Yeah.
Right there, right?
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. And we need to learn how to connect the dots. D stands for distraction. O stands for opting out. So let me tell you what distraction is, real simple. Distraction is anything that gets our attention off of the yucky stuff that's down in the monkey committee. It's that distress that we have that results from the mind just churning away.
Yep.
And it might be reading a book. It might be cleaning. It might be exercising. It might be volunteering at a local food pantry. It really doesn't matter what it is. What really matters is what it does. What function does it serve?
What it's in the service of, right?
Right. Yeah, so this is one of the powers of ACT that is really, really important, is our mind is very judgmental. We feel that others are judgmental of us as well. And what I really want people to get a hold of is that when we're doing these things, we're doing things that we're selecting basically on autopilot, things that we have seen others do and heard and read about and just absorbed from culture, and it's just natural. And in the short term, yes, it does reduce our distress a little bit. Watching Netflix can blank out a whole lot of distress for a time. And O stands for opting out. And so this is probably a key thing when it comes to chronic pain. The brain says, hey, that big old grocery store, with, aisle and aisle and aisle after things that you need to go sorting through, that's too big. You really need to go to the little teeny neighborhood convenience store, or maybe even just the gas station, pick up some eggs, pick up some milk and a little bit of bread, you're good. The brain wants you to opt out of doing things that are associated with the distress that's down there below. And when it wants you to do that, you're going to get some momentary reduction in your discomfort. Talking and thinking. Now, this is a slippery one. That's the T, distraction, opting out, and thinking and talking. Now, I can't tell you how many people I've talked with chronic pain who have consulted expert after expert after expert about their pain and read articles on it and talked to their friends about it and vented about it and blamed themselves for it and analyzed what they've done wrong. And, oh boy, there's a long list. So the struggle that we have with talking and thinking, number one, it's a natural, normal thing for us to do. But we then have to ask ourselves, well, what function is that actually serving? Is that giving us a false feeling of moving forward in our life when in fact we're not? I think of it as a rocking chair. You know, a rocking chair gives you this feeling that you're going somewhere or you're doing something, but you're actually, you're just in the same place after 20 minutes of being in a rocking chair. And so that's a struggle for people to realize that all this mental activity that they're spending time in to try to, you know, be an expert in their problem might actually be something that keeps them stuck. And then finally, the S. The S has to do with substances. So what are substances? Well, again, it just depends on the person. Could be ice cream. That would be one of mine. It could be something that's just tasty. It could be alcohol, could be tobacco, could be medications that are prescribed or medications that aren't prescribed, or marijuana or other drugs. Could be sex. It could be anything that is just really powerful and soothing. And then the other S that's in there is self-harm. And so for some, even harming themselves is in some version a form of relief from that distress that they have. So I would love to hear from you, and I'll share some of my struggles. What are some of the go-to autopilot strategies that you have without even thinking it, thinking about it for a moment? That your mind just automatically suggests, hey, you know, let's reduce this tension by sleep.
There you go.
Sleep, yeah.
Very popular.
Yeah. Being active, yeah. Shut down. Red wine. There we go. Well, that. Social media. Definitely. You know, what else? Gaming. Yes. I'll tell you an interesting thing. I often mention when I'm talking with men that go-to that I've heard from many men is that they'll spend time on one of the eBay sites or Craigslist, you know, looking for things that they don't need, like cement mixers. And I can't tell you how many times I've mentioned that, you know, to a guy, and a guy will say, I was spending time last night looking for a cement mixer. I'm like, you need a cement mixer? I'm like, no. You know, we don't need these things. So let me give you a quiz question. What is Amazon's most successful point of the week and time of the day where they make far more sales than any other hour and any other day of the week? What time? Mm-hmm. 11 o'clock in the evening. Okay, it's close. Mm-hmm. What day of the week?
1 a.m.
There's 1 a.m. That's good. Yeah. Sunday night. Sunday? No. It is Friday night between midnight and 2 a.m.
Really?
Yeah. They make more sales on Friday nights between midnight and 2 a.m. than any other time period. And what they attribute that to, their analysis from their profiles on people, loneliness.
Yep.
Yeah. So what do we turn to? We turn to, well, I need to feel good.
Yep. There you go. There's Deb.
There you go. Yeah.
That's Deb's.
Get rid of them darn wrinkles.
Good one, Deb.
Yeah. Yeah. So we live in cultures.
It's just strapped. I'll do it. As long as you keep the strap on, right? I guess.
Right.
Exercise DVD. I gotta get on Amazon between 12 and 2.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna have to set my alarm to wake up so I can be up at. Never took it out of the box. Yeah, right. Exactly.
Oh,
right.
Yeah. There's tons of stuff like that that's never taken out of the box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kindle books that you never read, that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah. We do all kinds of stuff. And so, yeah. So it's easy for me. It's 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night. And all of a sudden, I'm magically transported to the kitchen. And I'm standing there with the fridge door open.
Oh, yeah.
And I have no idea how I got there.
Fugue state.
Yeah. I'm just like, wow. And then I'm looking for something. I don't even know what I'm looking for.
It's in there somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. So let me share with you, I think, a very, very important principle right here. All right. When we start becoming aware of our distraction, our opting out, our thinking, our talking, our substances, self-harm strategies, when we start really owning that, you're going to activate that monkey mind, all right? You're going to activate that because it's going to say, aren't you a bad person?
Oh, yeah.
If people really knew what you were like, and wouldn't that be horrible? All right. So our minds are going to do that. I hear my mind do that. Other people share with me what they're finding as they start recognizing, paying attention, noticing on a day-to-day basis how many times we're caught up in this distraction, opting out, talking, thinking, substances stuff. We could be in a meeting and do this. So just think about that for a minute. Let's say you're in a work setting and you're sitting there in a meeting. Nobody can even see a thing that you're doing other than your presence is there. How can you engage in this sitting in a meeting? What would you say? You can throw that into the comments there.
There you go.
Hey, Phil.
What?
Let's look at what the whiteboard behind you looks like.
All right.
Can we see it?
I'm thinking it might be the resolution too, Kevin. Could be.
We can't see. We can't see that either.
Could be the resolution of my video. I have to mess with that. Is what I was thinking.
Really? Wow.
I don't know if it's
anyway, folks.
High or low.
Ask questions. Give myself self-compassion. There you go.
Yeah.
Ask questions.
So you can ask questions. Thank you, Deborah. So you're sitting in a meeting and you have some stuff that starts going in your head. Maybe you're not following along with the meeting. Maybe the meeting is kind of pointless. Maybe you don't trust the leader. Maybe there's some real disconnect and there's no real clear shared purpose. And you're sitting there. How in that moment can you engage with distancing stuff? Just privately in your own mind. You could pinch yourself, okay? Yeah. Label it. What do I need to do now? Sometimes I put my hand on my other arm, comfort. Oh, there you go. Well, that's a good response. Yeah. Yeah, so I think, sorry for bumping my computer. So I think it's easy for us to engage in these avoidance and control strategies all over the place. And the more we practice noticing it, the more we increase our flexibility. And really, that's what the whole point of this is for us, is to realize that there are some options. for us when we are struggling and difficult stuff shows up. So let's move over now to the grid on the upper right. So the upper right has to do with what I can do. What can I do when this stuff starts showing up? That's different, of course, than distraction, opting out, thinking, substances, stuff like that. It's different from that. So how do we get into that? And here's a really important little caveat before we get into it. The things that we're going to start writing down here, just like the distraction, opting out, and substances, it's tricky because if somebody lists, some positive things to do, it's going to be easy for your mind to do something with that that's not very functional, not very helpful. It's going to be easy for you to say to yourself, oh, I should be doing that. Mm-hmm. That's what good people do. If, I were a better person, I'd be doing that. All right. So as we start talking about these things, let's see. I can see people, get defensive if they start to see that their go-to strategies are failing. Yeah. Mm-hmm. We do. So the neat thing about using ACT principles and the matrix itself, I think in a visual way, it can help a person stand back and start noticing that there is a lot that we can be paying attention to. What's important to us, what's getting in our way, how we're struggling. In this last area, we can also begin to look for opportunities and pay attention to as well. And it goes like this. I'll ask a person who has chronic pain, I've got a magic wand, and I have the ability, to swipe away the pain and all the friends of pain that show up, and all the stuff you do to struggle and wrestle with it. What would you do with your life from this point on if I were to do that? How would you sound? What would your attitude be? How would you react to things? Who would you spend time with? What would you do with your energy that you have? What would you do feeling good? And people will begin to write down some things. Now, before I get into some of the typical things that I hear people say, I would love to hear for you to put into the chat, what are some of the things that you personally can do that would help you if you were to eliminate all the things that were a struggle and you had a clean slate? What would your life look like? What would be in it? I would imagine that people, Calm, clarity, Hang out with friends, more joy. Yes, definitely. Write songs, more active, and more walks, generous, yeah? Definitely. Think of the things that are important to you, your values. What are those things that would move you in that direction toward the things that are important, toward the people who are important, toward the kind of person that you'd really want to be? Give hugs.
Give hugs.
Yep, got it.
Definitely. It is a struggle, and a normal one, for a person to get to this point and wonder, is this a trick question? Is there really something I could do? Maybe this isn't even worth thinking about. But in the things that you are listing, there's a place for you to start, even now, with your struggle. And here's the difficulty that we have with the stuff that shows up, that I experience anyway. I sense that the stuff that's yucky down in the left, I somehow have to get mastery over first. I somehow have to fix. I somehow have to stop. I somehow have to make it not true and not believe it so that I can move toward what's important to me. And as long as I hang on to that kind of a thought, I'm going to struggle. And what I really want people to do is look at that stuff that's down in the lower left. Picture it like a bunch of toys that you throw into a wagon, and you are going to drag that wagon along with you off in this new direction toward the stuff that's important to you up in the upper right, without needing to fix it first. So let me just tell you a story of how this happens with people with chronic pain. People want to get rid of their pain, understandably. It's very hard to learn how to accept pain. It's very hard to learn how to deal with the stuff that shows up with pain. We want to get rid of it. And people wait. And they wait. And they wait. And I think it's very important for us to be very empathetic and accepting of people who are stuck in that place or who are in that place. Because until they're ready to move, they're not going to move. And us putting out there, this is what you have to do, can immediately be turned into their mind as a judgment, right? It has to come from inside of them. It really does. But if they're able to say, you know what, even with the pain that I have, I could call my friend. Even with the pain that I have, I could have a different attitude when I'm with my family. Even with the pain that I have, I could spend some time, getting my, old painting collection out and start painting. Even with the pain that I have, I could volunteer. Maybe just on the phone, or maybe just an hour a week. Even with the pain that I have, I could, start learning about something that I've been really interested in, but I just haven't focused on. As a person begins to make those very small steps, they move forward. So I just want to leave with this. There's a statement that has 6 parts to it that I want to leave people with in our session here today, and that I leave with patients, and I have them to work on. And I'll write it out here in the chat while I'm saying it. First one is I am here now, in the present moment. I'm having a hard time typing here. Accepting my emotions, noticing my thoughts, choosing what to do, choosing to do what is important to me. Six parts of the ACT flexibility process right there. I am here now, accepting, noticing, choosing to do what I care about. I recently released a book that walks people through how to use the ACT matrix when you're struggling with chronic pain. It is written in part because of the inspiration of how powerful the matrix is in helping people learn flexibility in difficulty. And so if you're interested in checking that out, just look on Amazon for chronic pain rehabilitation.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, Evan. That was great.
Yeah, really. Thanks. Wow. Very cool.
You're welcome.
Oh.
Yep. And it's called The Flexible Path Through Pain. What's it called? The name of the book again, Evan?
Oh, yeah. The pain is called Chronic Pain Rehabilitation.
That's it. Chronic Pain Rehabilitation.
Chronic pain rehabilitation.
Okay. Yeah. You are welcome. You are so welcome.
I was just going to look for your book on Friday night after midnight.
Friday night, midnight.
Yeah.
Very good.
Perfect. Thanks, Eddie.
Funny. Okay, great. We'll be back on Wednesday with, and the email just went out.
Okay.
So, all will get the email about the Wednesday one. And what did we decide to do on Friday? We're going to do pandemic. So,
great.
Well, always a fun topic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very positive.
Lots of need for flexibility in this world.
Yes. Okay, folks. Have a great rest of your day.
You're welcome.
Take it easy.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.